January 31st, 1943. High above the North Sea, the cold is alive. It slips through wool gloves, through leather jackets, through bone. First Lieutenant Charlie Adams, pilot of a B-17F flying fortress named Liberty Bell, grips the yoke as frost creeps along the cockpit glass. The bomber formation stretches for miles. Silver aircraft in rigid boxes headed toward occupied Europe. Engines drone in brutal harmony. Every man aboard knows the math. Few crews finish their tour. Flak blooms ahead like black flowers. The first bursts are distant, then suddenly close. The bomber shudders. Charlie's eyes flick to the instruments. All pressure steady. Airspeed good. Then the intercom crackles. Flak damage, right wing. The co-pilot shouts. The fortress lurches. Metal screams. Somewhere aft, a gunner curses. Charlie steadies the yoke, jaw tight. Training takes over. He keeps them in formation because falling behind means death. German fighters hunt stragglers. Another burst hits closer. The plane jolts hard left. Warning lights flash. The right inboard engine coughs, then sputters into smoke. Engine 3 is gone, the engineer reports, voice flat, already accepting it. Charlie exhales slowly. One engine out is survivable. Two is not. Ahead and slightly below. Another B-17 drifts out of position. Her tail is shredded. Smoke trails from her nose. Charlie recognizes the markings. Lucky Lady, piloted by Captain Evan Mitchell, a man he trained with back in Texas. The radio is chaos. Voices stepping over each other. Calcines breaking up in static. Lucky Lady, this is Liberty Bell. Charlie transmits. No response. German fighters slash in from the sun. Messerschmitts. The gunners open fire. Brass casings tumble through the air like falling rain. A 20mm shell detonates near the cockpit. Glass explodes inward. The wind howls. Charlie tastes blood. The Liberty Bell drops altitude. Charlie fights the controls, muscles burning. The bomber is wounded, heavy, slow. Below, Lucky Lady is sinking faster. Her nose pitched down, engines failing one by one. Then it happens. A sudden violent jolt. The world tilts. Charlie shouts instinctively, pulling back hard. Metal shrieks against metal. The fortress bucks like a living thing. What the hell did we hit? Someone yells. Charlie looks forward and freezes. Their bomber is locked to another aircraft. The shattered tail section of Lucky Lady has slammed into the nose of Liberty Bell. Twisted. Aluminum is jammed deep into the cockpit frame. Control cables bind. Two bombers each weighing over 30 tons are fused together in midair. They are flying as one broken machine. Altitude bleeding. Engines straining. German fighters circling like wolves. Charlie knows one truth with brutal clarity. No manual ever trained him for this. And somewhere below the clouds, the enemy is waiting to see how Americans die. The air between the two bombers screams like a wounded animal. Torn aluminum vibrates inches from Charlie Adams' face. The nose of Liberty Bell is crushed inward, the plexiglass gone, replaced by jagged metal from Lucky Lady's tail. Cold wind blasts through the cockpit, ripping maps loose, numbing fingers in seconds. Controls are stiff. Charlie shouts. The yoke barely responds. Elevator sluggish, rudder half-locked. The two aircraft are fighting each other, each trying to fall its own way. Below them, the North Sea glints dully through broken cloud. Behind Charlie, the navigator crawls forward, eyes wide. Sir? Her crew. They're still back there. Charlie knows. Through the twisted wreckage, he can see movement men trapped in Lucky Lady's fuselage. Their aircraft effectively impaled on his own. Two American crews, now sharing one fate. German fighters swing in again. A Messerschmitt flashes past the nose. So close Charlie sees the pilot's goggles. Gunfire rips through the locked bombers. The top turret answers. Tracers stitching the sky. Radio's dead. The co-pilot yells. We can't break formation because we don't have one. Charlie scans the instruments. Altitude falling fast. Airspeed unstable. Engines 1 and 2 are straining, overworked by the added drag of another bomber hanging off the nose. He makes a decision that feels insane the moment it forms. Feather engine 4, he orders. The engineer hesitates. Sir, that leaves us with 2. I know. The propeller slows, then stops. The vibration eases slightly. The joined aircraft level out, not stable, but controllable. Charlie adjusts trim in tiny movements, sweat freezing on his neck. For a moment, impossibly, they are flying. Inside Lucky Lady, Captain Evan Mitchell is alive. He crawls forward through smoke and darkness, boots slipping on blood and all. He reaches the shattered nose of his bomber and stares into Charlie's cockpit. Two pilots, inches apart, separated by torn steel and roaring wind. Mitchell presses his gloved hand against the metal, shouting words Charlie can't hear. Charlie understands anyway. Mitchell points down. then makes a slicing motion across his throat. Bail out. Charlie shakes his head hard. He points back, holds up to fingers, then points to the engines. Not yet. German flak erupts below them again. Black bursts rock the joint bombers. A shell tears through Lucky Lady's fuselage. One of her gunners is flung sideways, harness snapping tight. Time stretches. Fuel gauges dip toward empty. Frost creeps across Charlie's eyebrows. His arms tremble from holding pressure against the yoke. If they separate wrong, both aircraft will tumble. If they stay together, they will eventually fall anyway. Charlie knows the choice is coming. He just doesn't know who it will kill first. The joint bombers drift lower, clouds sliding past like pale ghosts. Altitude, 8,000 feet, still falling. Charlie Adams feels every vibration through the yoke, as if the aircraft is breathing slow, painful breaths. The fortress was never meant to carry another fortress. Every rivet is protesting. The intercom crackles back to life for half a second. A gunner's voice breaks through. Sir, Lucky Lady's men are trying to bail out. Charlie's stomach tightens. He looks forward again. Through the torn metal, he sees Captain Evan Mitchell yelling to his crew, pointing toward the waist door. One by one, figures move aft, struggling against the unnatural tilt of the fused aircraft. The problem is obvious. Their planes are still locked. Anyone who jumps now risks smashing into the other bomber or getting pulled back into the wreckage. Charlie keys the mic, knowing it likely won't reach. Evan, wait. Give me a minute. Mitchell can't hear him, but somehow, he seems to understand. He raises a hand, hesitates, then lowers it. He's buying time. Below them, the gray water of the North Sea grows sharper, more real. German fighters have peeled away, satisfied. No need to waste fuel on aircraft already dying. Charlie studies the twisted connection. The tail of Lucky Lady is wedged deep into the nose of Liberty Bell. Control cables tangled like veins. One wrong move, and the tail could rip free violently, flipping both aircraft. He makes another impossible decision. Trim nose down, Charlie says. Slowly, the co-pilot stares at him. Sir, if we reduce lift, the pressure might ease. I want her tail to slide, not snap. Every instinct screams against it. Nose down means speed. Speed means structural failure. But Charlie has nothing else. He eases the yoke forward. The world tilts. Wind screams louder. Airspeed climbs. The metal connection groans, then shifts. Just a few inches. Enough to make hope dangerous. In Lucky Lady, Mitchell feels it too. The aircraft shudders, the angle changing. He braces himself, grabbing a frame. He knows what Charlie is attempting. It's insane. It might work. A sudden jolt slams through both bombers. Something tears loose. A control cable snaps back like a whip, cutting into Charlie's glove. Blood sprays across the instrument panel. Hold it, Charlie mutters. Then silence. Not quiet, just balance. The aircraft are no longer grinding against each other. Charlie pulls back gently. The nose rises. The airspeed steadies. The bombers are separating. For one suspended heartbeat, they fly side by side, inches apart, scarred and smoking. Charlie locks eyes with Evan Mitchell. Two men sharing a look that says everything neither can speak. Mitchell raises a hand in a brief, sharp salute. Then gravity claims him. Lucky Lady drops away, her damaged tail finally free. She falls nose first, slipping beneath the clouds toward the sea. Charlie watches until she vanishes. He doesn't know who made it out. He doesn't have time to. The silence after separation feels unreal. No grinding metal. No shared vibration. Just the wounded groan of Liberty Bell pushing through thin winter air. Charlie Adams forces himself to look back to the instruments. Altitude, 5,000 feet. Engines 1 and 2 are overheating. Engine 3 is dead. Engine 4 is feathered and useless. They are barely flying. The co-pilot wipes blood from his cheek. Sir, fuel's critical. Charlie nods. He already knows. The bomber is too far east. England is out of reach. The North Sea is behind them. But turning back with this damage is a gamble with bad odds. Below, the cloud cover breaks. Germany appears. Fields, roads, a river cutting through frostbitten land. And then anti-aircraft guns. Black puffs rise lazily, almost bored, as if the ground already knows the outcome. Flak, low intensity, the navigator says. Charlie doesn't maneuver. He can't. Any violent movement will tear the wings apart. The fortress lumbers forward, slow and exposed, a gift drifting down from the sky. Another burst rocks the left wing. A hole opens near the root. The engineer shouts something Charlie can't hear over the wind. Fire warning light flickers, then goes dark again. False alarm. Or maybe not. Charlie makes the call. Prepare to bail out, he says, voice steady. Orderly, on my command. No one argues. They've all seen this before, just never like this. The crew moves through drilled motions. Parachutes clipped. Helmets tightened. The radio operator pauses beside Charlie. Sir, you're coming too, right? Charlie doesn't answer. Not yet. He guides the bomber lower, searching. A clearing. A frozen field. Somewhere not filled with trees or buildings. Somewhere survivable. At 3,000 feet, the engines begin to fail in sequence. Engine 2 sputters. Power drops sharply. The nose dips. Now, Charlie shouts. One by one, the crew disappears into the roaring white air. Charlie counts them instinctively. 6, 7, 8. The co-pilot lingers. Sir, go. The co-pilot hesitates one last second, then vanishes. Charlie is alone. The fortress feels lighter, but not enough. The controls grow sloppy. The ground rushes closer. He finally reaches for his own parachute, then stops. Through the shattered nose, he sees movement below. A small compound, barracks, guard towers, a German prisoner of war camp, and standing outside the wire, bundled in gray coats, are figures he does not expect. Women, watching the sky, pointing upward, faces turned toward the dying American bomber. Charlie's hand tightens on the yoke. If he bails out now, the bomber will crash directly into them. He has seconds. Charlie makes one last choice. He shoves the yoke left, forcing the fortress to yaw away from the camp. The damaged wing screams in protest. The ground fills the cockpit. At the final moment, barely 100 feet up, Charlie throws himself forward into empty air. Behind him, Liberty Bell slams into a frozen field, exploding in fire and smoke. Charlie Adams hits the frozen ground hard, rolling, breath ripped from his chest. Snow and dirt fill his mouth. For a second he can't move. The sky spins. Then boots pound toward him. Loss, loss. German voices shout. Rough hands yank him upright. A rifle butt slams into his ribs when his legs buckle. The parachute is cut away and dragged off like trash. Charlie forces himself to stand. He keeps his hands visible. Training. Survival. Smoke from Liberty Bell drifts across the field, black and oily. Flames lick what remains of the bomber. German soldiers form a loose ring around him, weapons raised, faces tense. They look less victorious than shaken. Then Charlie notices the silence beyond them. Behind the barbed wire, the women are still there. They wear mismatched coats, civilian wool, threadbare uniforms, scarves pulled tight against the cold. Their faces are pale, eyes wide. Some clutch each other's sleeves. One woman presses both hands to her mouth, staring at the burning wreckage, then at Charlie. These are not guards, not civilians passing by. They are prisoners. A German officer steps forward, tall, precise, pistol at his hip. He studies Charlie's flight jacket, the USAF insignia, the frostbitten blood on his glove. Then he follows Charlie's gaze to the women. The officer's jaw tightens. You, he says in clipped English. You nearly killed them. Charlie swallows. His voice is hoarse. I saw them. That's why I turned. The officer studies him for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he nods once. Not approval, recognition. Charlie is marched toward the camp gate. As he passes the wire, the women step closer. Guards shout at them to move back, but they don't nod immediately. One woman meets Charlie's eyes. She is young, maybe early 20s, dirt smudged on her cheek. A pow patch is sewn crookedly onto her coat. She raises two fingers to her temple in a small, awkward salute. Charlie doesn't smile. He can't, but he inclines his head slightly, just enough. Inside the camp, the air smells of coal smoke and boiled cabbage. Barbed wire coils overhead. Watchtowers loom. Charlie is shoved into a processing room, searched, stripped of anything useful. His dog tags are taken, then returned. The rules are followed, mostly. A guard mutters to another in German, gesturing toward the crash site. Charlie catches one word he understands. Verrückt. Crazy. Hours later, Charlie is shoved into a barracks. Wooden bunks, thin blankets, cold that never leaves. Other Allied prisoners stare at him curious, cautious. Where'd you come down? One asks quietly. Near here, Charlie answers. The man nods. Women's compounds on the other side of the wire. They saw the whole thing. Charlie lies back on the bunk, staring at the ceiling. The image won't leave him. Two bombers locked together. Men falling through the sky. Women watching from behind wire as death nearly drops into their laps. Night settles over the camp like a lid. The temperature drops fast. Frost forms along the inside of the barracks windows. Charlie Adams lies awake, boots still on, hands tucked under his armpits for warmth. Somewhere beyond the wire, a woman coughs. Somewhere else, a guard laughs. Life goes on, even here. Near midnight, the door creaks open. A flashlight beam cuts across the room. Amerikaner, a guard calls. Adams. Charlie sits up slowly. Two guards wait, rifles low but ready. No shouting, no hurry. That alone sets his nerves on edge. he is marched outside. The moon paints the camp in hard silver lines, wire, towers, shadows. Instead of the command building, they lead him toward a small hut near the women's compound. The officer from earlier waits inside. His coat is unbuttoned now, his posture less rigid. On the table between them lies a rough sketch, two airplanes drawn together, noses and tails tangled like broken birds. You fly the big bomber, the officer says. It is not a question. Yes. You collided with another. Yes. The officer taps the drawing. Our guards saw two aircraft flying as one. For several minutes, he pauses. This is not normal. Charlie says nothing. You could have jumped earlier. The officer continues. Instead, you stayed. Why? Charlie meets his eyes. Men were still aboard the other plane, and there were prisoners below. The officer leans back, studying him. The women, he says quietly. Yes. Outside the hut, movement. Shadows pass the frosted window. Charlie knows the women are nearby. They are not supposed to be. The officer lowers his voice. They believe you saved them. Charlie almost laughs. Almost. I didn't know who they were. But you knew they were not soldiers. Yes. The officer nods slowly. War makes men forget that distinction. He stands, signaling the end. You will be held as a normal prisoner. No punishment. That, in this place, is a gift. As Charlie is escorted back, the guards take a longer route. When they pass the wire near the women's barracks, someone steps forward from the shadows. A woman speaks in accented English, voice low but steady. The plane, it moved. Away from us. A guard snaps at her, but she doesn't retreat. Charlie stops walking. He doesn't look at the guard. He looks at her. I saw you, he says simply. Her breath catches. She nods once. We thought it would fall on us. We could not run. I know. For a second, the camp disappears. There is no wire. No uniforms. Just people, standing in the cold, acknowledging what almost happened. Then the guard shoves Charlie forward. Back in the barracks, word spreads fast. Other prisoners crowd close, whispering. Two planes locked together, flying, separating. A crash that didn't kill everyone. By morning, even the guards talk about it. They call it an American miracle. Charlie stares at the ceiling again, knowing miracles always come with a cost. He doesn't yet know how many men made it out of Lucky Lady. Morning comes gray and brittle. A whistle cuts through the camp before sunrise. Doors slam open. Boots scrape frozen ground. Charlie Adams steps outside with the others, breath fogging the air. Eyes instinctively drifting toward the women's compound. It is already changing. German trucks idle near the wire. Guards move with purpose, rifles slung but ready. The women are lined up, coats pulled tight, heads shaved or wrapped in scarves, faces set in a quiet, defiant calm. Orders are barked, names are called, bags small, pitiful things are checked and thrown into the back of a truck. They are being transferred. Charlie's chest tightens. He didn't ask for this. He didn't want to be the reason anything changes. But war doesn't ask permission. A British pal beside him murmurs, they're scared of stories. Charlie doesn't answer. As the trucks roll forward, one of the women turns her head. It's the same one from the night before. She finds Charlie in the crowd instantly, as if she's been looking for him. For a moment, neither moves. Then she raises her hand, not a salute this time. Just an open palm, fingers spread. Goodbye. The trucks pull away in a cloud of exhaust and frost. Silence settles heavy behind them. That afternoon, a new rumor ripples through the barracks. Lucky Lady, survivors. Some made it out. Others didn't. The sea took the rest. No names, just fragments. Charlie sits on his bunk, turning that over in his mind. He sees Evan Mitchell's salute again. Wonders if he lived long enough to hit the water. Wonders if that look was a farewell or a promise. Days pass. Interrogations are light. The Germans already know what happened. They want details, not tactics, not formations, but the moment of contact. The impossible flight. How two aircraft stayed together. Charlie answers carefully, truth without drama. One evening, as snow begins to fall, a guard hands him something through the wire. A scrap of paper. No explanation. Later, in the barracks, Charlie unfolds it. The handwriting is neat but rushed. We are alive, because you turned. No signature, no place. Charlie reads it twice, then once more. He folds it small and tucks it deep into his jacket, close to his chest. That night, aircraft engines rumble far above the clouds, Allied bombers heading east. The prisoners stop and listen. Some smile, some close their eyes. Charlie looks up at the unseen sky. He thinks of B-17s locked together, of metal screaming and men choosing not to let go. He knows now that the story will travel through camps, through whispers, through years, not as a tale of destruction, but as proof that even in a machine built for war, a human decision can still change where the wreckage falls. And somewhere beyond the wire, Women who once waited for death will remember the sound of an American bomber turning away. Winter deepens. The camp hardens with it. Snow packs into corners that never see sun. Rations thin. Tempers fray. Charlie Adams marks time by routine's roll call. Work detail, the slow grind of hours that refuse to move. The story doesn't fade. It sharpens. New prisoners arrive from other camps, other crash. They bring pieces Charlie hasn't heard yet. A waist gunner from Lucky Lady washed ashore weeks later, half frozen but alive. 2 more were pulled from the water by a fishing trawler and handed to the Germans. Evan Mitchell, no confirmation. Just a pause when names are mentioned. A shrug, a look away. Charlie accepts the not knowing. In war, certainty is a luxury. One afternoon, he's assigned to repair fencing near the perimeter. The wire hums faintly in the cold. As he works, an older German sergeant watches him, not hostile, not friendly, curious. You flew that day, the sergeant says in careful English. Yes, the man nods. My brother flew in the last war. Balloons, observation, he gestures upward. Different machines, same fear. Charlie keeps twisting wire. Fear keeps you honest. The sergeant considers that, or it makes you cruel. A pause. Snowflakes drift between them. Why did you stay with the other plane? The sergeant asks. Many would not. Charlie thinks of the women's open palms, of Evan's salute, because letting go too early kills people you never see. The sergeant looks down at his boots. He says nothing more. That night, air raid sirens wail in the distance, not for the camp, for the cities beyond. The sky flickers orange on the horizon. The guards are tense. Searchlights probe the clouds like blind fingers. Prisoners gather quietly at the windows. Charlie imagines the bombers above tight formations. Cold cockpits, men counting seconds between flak bursts. He knows the sound of engines at that altitude, how they blend into a single living thing. A guard unlocks the barracks door and barks orders. Lights out, away from windows. He hesitates, then looks at Charlie. You flew Fortress, he says. Not accusing, almost respectful. Yes. The guard nods once and locks the door. Later, in the dark, Charlie takes out the scrap of paper again. We are alive, because you turned. He wonders how many times that sentence has already been whispered. How many more times it will be repeated until it becomes something larger than him. He folds it away as footsteps approach outside. A truck idles. Voices argue in low German. Orders change. The camp feels like it's holding its breath. By morning, Charlie learns why. An inspection team is coming, high-ranking. The command wants everything orderly. No stories, no symbols, no Americans becoming legends behind wire. Charlie senses the pressure building. He has become inconvenient, not dangerous, just memorable. And in places like this, memory is something the system tries to erase. The inspection arrives with engines and dust. Staff cars roll through the gate. Boots strike ground in perfect rhythm. Officers in long coats move like men measuring everything they see. The camp straightens itself, nervous and obedient. Charlie Adams stands at attention with the others, eyes forward, face empty. He feels it now, the weight of being noticed. An officer stops in front of him, younger than expected. Sharp eyes, clean gloves. He studies Charlie's face longer than necessary. You, he says in German, then switches to English. You are the pilot. Charlie doesn't ask which flight. He simply answers, yes. The officer circles him once, slow. 2 aircraft, locked together. Yes. A story travels, the officer says. Stories are inefficient. Charlie says nothing. Later, Charlie is pulled from the barracks and led to a small office. The same officer waits inside, alone this time. No shouting, no threats, just quiet. You will be transferred, the officer says, to another camp. Charlie absorbs that. Transfer means distance. It means erasure. When? He asks. Tonight. The officer hesitates, then adds, you are not in trouble. But you are. Disgust. Charlie almost smiles. Almost. As dusk settles, he packs what little he has. Blanket, tin cup, the scrap of paper, hidden deep. Outside, a truck waits. Snow crunches under boots. He is loaded in with 2 other prisoners, neither speaking. As the truck passes the outer fence, Charlie catches a glimpse of the empty space where the women's compound once stood. Bare ground, tracks already filling with snow. The truck jolts forward. Hours later, it stops briefly near a rail spur. Guards confer. A train whistles somewhere in the dark. While they wait, Charlie hears voices soft, hurried from beyond the trees. Women's voices. The guards don't hear them, or pretend not to. A figure steps close enough for Charlie to see her face in the moonlight. Older than the one he remembers. Lines of fatigue, eyes sharp with intent. We heard. She whispers in English. They are moving you. Charlie doesn't move, doesn't speak. She presses something into his hand through the slats of the truck, a small cloth bundle. Then she steps back into the dark. A guard shouts. The moment breaks. The truck lurches forward again. Later, when the road smooths out, Charlie unwraps the cloth. Inside is a crudely carved wooden-shaped airplanes joined at the nose, unmistakable even in its simplicity. On the back, scratched deep, Nix Losslesen. Do not let go. Charlie closes his hand around it, feeling the rough edges bite into his palm. The train looms ahead now, black and endless. A new camp, a new silence. But as the truck slows, Charlie looks up at the stars and knows something the system does not. They can move him. They can bury records. They can scatter witnesses. But they cannot separate what already flew together. And somewhere, beyond wire and snow and war, people will remember the day to American. Spring comes slowly behind wire. Snow melts into mud. The air smells of damp earth and coal smoke instead of frost. Charlie Adams learns the rhythm of the new camp, the same way he learned the old one quietly, without expectation. The guards here know his name, but not his story. That is the point. Months pass. Then years compress into routines. Roll calls, Red Cross parcels, rumors of landings, of fronts collapsing, of cities burning. Charlie keeps flying in his dreams, always the same moment. Metal screaming, to aircraft refusing to let go. In April 1945, the sound changes. Artillery, distant but growing. Guards grow nervous. Orders come late or not at all. One morning, the gates stand open. No speeches, no ceremony, just absence. Freedom arrives like that sometimes. Charlie walks out thin, bearded, blinking in the light. Allied soldiers wave him forward. Someone claps him on the shoulder. Someone else presses a cigarette into his hand. He inhales and coughs, laughing despite himself. Weeks later, back in England, Charlie is debriefed. He tells the story once, carefully. The officers listen, silent. One of them shakes his head in disbelief. To fortresses, the man says. Locked together. Charlie nods. For a while. The report is filed. The war ends. The world moves on. Years later, much later, Charlie stands in a quiet hangar in the United States. A restored B-17 gleams under soft lights. Aluminum skin smooth and perfect, hiding how fragile it once was. Visitors walk past, reading placards, pointing at turrets and bomb bays. A young woman approaches him. She carries an accent softened by time. My mother, she says, a little unsure. She was a prisoner. In Germany. Charlie's heart slows. She told me a story, the woman continues, about two airplanes in the sky, and a pilot who turned away. Charlie opens his hand. The wooden carving rests there, still worn smooth now. Two planes, joined. The woman's eyes fill. She nods, unable to speak. Outside, a B-17 engine starts for a demonstration flight. The sound rolls across the airfield, deep and familiar. Charlie closes his eyes. He sees it again, not the crash, not the wire, but the moment in between. When disaster hesitated, when gravity waited, when men chose not to let go. History will record the mission as damaged aircraft, losses sustained, prisoners taken. But those who were there will remember something else. That once, in the middle of a brutal war, two American bombers locked together in the sky, and long enough for strangers on the ground to live.